the discovery. The silence of deep space was broken only by the soft hum of the Zephyrian scout ship's stellar wind as it drifted through the Kepler 442 system. Captain Thexler had been patrolling this sector for 3 standard cycles, searching for signs of the mysterious species that had recently begun expanding into contested space. The humans, as they called themselves, had appeared seemingly from nowhere and were rapidly claiming uninhabited systems. "Captain," called Science Officer Veltar from her station, her 4 eyes focused intently on the sensor display. "I'm detecting a large metallic object in the asteroid field ahead. Configuration suggests it's artificial." Thexler's mandibles clicked together in interest. The Zephyrian collective had been trying to understand human technology for months, but the newcomers were surprisingly secretive about their capabilities. Any chance to study their vessels was valuable intelligence. "Distance and size?" he asked, moving to stand behind his science officer. "Approximately 2 kilometers in length, sir. It appears to be drifting without power. No heat signatures, no electromagnetic emissions. Completely dead." The captain studied the grainy image on the main viewer. The ship was unlike anything in their database, angular and aggressive, with what appeared to be weapon emplacements along its hull. It looked like it had been built for war. "Any signs of life?" "Negative, sir. If there was ever a crew aboard, they're long gone." 3 kilometers away, hidden in the shadow of a massive asteroid, Commander Elena Vasquez sat perfectly still in the command chair of the USS Prometheus. Her eyes were closed, but her mind was fully alert, connected to every system on her ship through the neural command interface. Around her, the bridge crew maintained absolute silence, their biosigns suppressed to undetectable levels. "Captain," whispered Lieutenant Torres through the neural link, "they're taking the bait. Zephyrian scout vessel is approaching from bearing 27 Mark IV. Vasquez smiled without opening her eyes. "Excellent. How many are we reading?" 17 crew members. Standard Zephyrian scout configuration. They think we're a derelict." The plan had been months in the making. Intelligence suggested that Zephyrian scouts regularly patrolled this region, and Command wanted to know more about their capabilities. The best way to study an enemy was to let them think they were studying you. "Maintain all stealth protocols," Vasquez ordered. "Let them get comfortable." The Prometheus had been specifically designed for this type of operation. Every system had multiple operational modes, and right now they were running on minimal power that would register as a dead ship to standard sensors. The Zephyrians would see basic hull materials and simple technology, exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Back aboard the Stellar Wind, Captain Thexler was growing more excited by the moment. Finding a derelict vessel from an unknown species was the kind of discovery that could advance his career significantly. The collective was always hungry for information about potential threats or allies. "Take us closer," he ordered. "I want a full spectrum analysis." "Sir, shouldn't we report this to Command first?" asked Navigator Kexrun. "Not yet. Let's see what we're dealing with first." As the Stellar Wind approached, Veltar began her preliminary scans. The results were puzzling. The ship appeared to be constructed from common materials, iron, titanium, basic alloys, but the design was unlike anything in their databases. "Sir," she called out, "the hull configuration is unusual. It's much thicker than necessary for a vessel this size, and there are strange internal spaces that don't correspond to any known ship design. Weapon systems? I'm detecting what appear to be kinetic weapon ports, but the configuration is strange. The power coupling suggests capabilities far beyond what these materials should allow." Thexler frowned. Something wasn't adding up. The ship looked primitive, but the design spoke of sophisticated engineering principles. Aboard the Prometheus, Chief Engineer Marcus Chen monitored the alien scans from his position in the ship's core. Around him, the most advanced technology humanity had ever created waited in standby mode. Fusion reactors that could power small cities, quantum computers that operated at impossible speeds, and weapon systems that could rewrite the laws of physics, all hidden behind carefully crafted facades. "They're scanning us," he reported through the neural link. "Basic materials analysis so far. Nothing too invasive." Commander Vasquez's mental voice was calm. Let them look. Make sure they only see what we want them to see. The human ship had been designed with exactly this scenario in mind. Every system could operate in primitive mode, showing only basic technology while hiding humanity's true capabilities. The aliens would see steel and titanium, basic computers, and simple weapons. They wouldn't see the quantum processors, the dark matter containment fields, or the weapons that could crack moons. As the stellar wind drew closer, Veltar's scans became more detailed. What she was seeing didn't make sense. The ship's internal structure was incredibly complex with systems that seemed to serve no obvious purpose. "Captain," she said, her voice tight with confusion, "I'm reading power distribution networks that are far more sophisticated than they should be. There are conduits running to sections of the ship that appear to be empty." "Empty how?" "No visible equipment, no obvious function. But the power requirements suggest something significant is hidden there." Thexelor studied the readouts. The deeper they scanned, the more mysterious the vessel became. It was as if the ship had been designed to hide its true nature. "Begin a deep scan," he ordered. "I want to know everything about this vessel." Veltar hesitated. "Sir, deep scans are more invasive. If anyone is alive over there, the ship is dead, officer. Begin the scan." As the stellar wind began its deep penetration scan, Commander Vasquez felt the change immediately. Where before the aliens had been gently probing their outer systems, now they were drilling deep into the Prometheus's heart. "They're going for a full system analysis," reported Lieutenant Torres. "Should we maintain the deception?" Vasquez's smile widened. "No. It's time to give them what they're looking for. Begin Phase 2. Chen began gradually allowing the alien scans to penetrate deeper into their systems. Layer by layer, he revealed the Prometheus's true nature. First came the computer systems, quantum processors operating at speeds that shouldn't be possible. Then the power systems, fusion reactors that put Zephyrian technology to shame. Aboard the stellar wind, Veltar's excitement was rapidly turning to concern. "Sir, I'm reading computer processing power that exceeds our own ship's capabilities. These quantum cores are operating at theoretical maximum efficiency." Thexelor moved to stand behind her. "That's impossible. Check your instruments." "I've run the analysis 3 times, sir. The readings are consistent. Their computer technology is decades ahead of ours." The captain felt his blood growing cold. How could a species they'd never heard of have developed such advanced systems? "What about their weapons?" Veltar's hands trembled as she accessed the weapons data. "Sir, you need to see this. What I initially read as simple kinetic weapons are actually mass accelerators. The power requirements suggest they can achieve velocities approaching 15% of light speed." The bridge fell silent. At those velocities, a simple metal slug would have the destructive power of a nuclear warhead. No civilized species built weapons that powerful because they were considered too dangerous to exist. But the scan was far from over. As Chen continued to reveal the Prometheus's systems, each new discovery was more terrifying than the last. Antimatter. Containment fields stable enough for weaponization. Biological research labs containing samples of diseases that could wipe out entire species. Manufacturing systems that could build entire fleets while traveling between stars. "Sir," Veltar whispered, her voice barely audible, "this isn't just a warship. Every single system on this vessel has been designed for warfare. They've weaponized everything, even their life support systems." Thexler stared at the readouts in horror. The picture that was emerging was of a species that didn't just wage war. They had elevated it to an art form. This single vessel carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets, enough manufacturing capability to establish permanent footholds in conquered systems, and enough biological weapons to commit genocide on a galactic scale. "Communications," he ordered, his voice shaking. "Prepare an emergency transmission to Collective Command, Priority Alpha." But even as he gave the order, Thexler knew it was too late. If the humans had wanted to destroy them, they would have done it already. The fact that his ship was still intact suggested the humans had other plans, and that terrified him more than anything else. The revelation. The emergency transmission from the stellar wind never made it past the ship's communication array. As soon as Captain Thexler authorized the message, every system on his vessel suddenly went dark. Life support, artificial gravity, even the lights. Everything shut down for exactly 3 seconds before returning to normal. "What just happened?" Thexler demanded, his mandibles clicking in panic. Science Officer Veltar was frantically working her controls, her 4 eyes wide with terror. "Sir, something interfered with our transmission. Our communication array was completely disabled for 3.7 seconds. Disabled how?" "I don't know, sir. It's as if something reached into our systems and turned them off." Aboard the Prometheus, Tactical Officer Lieutenant Sarah Kim smiled as she monitored the alien ship's panicked responses. The humans had just demonstrated something that should have been impossible: the ability to remotely disable another vessel's systems without firing a single shot. "Their stress indicators are off the charts," she reported to Commander Vasquez through the neural link. "They're starting to realize they're not dealing with a derelict." Vasquez's mental voice carried a hint of satisfaction. "Excellent. It's time for the full reveal. Signal the fleet." Throughout the Kepler 442 system, 23 human vessels that had been hiding behind asteroids, moons, and sensor shadows suddenly came to life. The USS Thunderstrike, the USS Void Hunter, the USS Stellar Fang. Each one a kilometer-long predator designed for one purpose: the complete domination of space. Navigation Officer Amy Chen watched as the alien ship's sensors detected the awakening fleet. "Sir, they're picking up our ships, reading multiple contacts throughout the system." "How many?" Vasquez asked. "All of them, sir. 23 vessels and counting." On the stellar wind, Navigator Kexrun's voice cracked as he reported the impossible readings. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple vessels throughout the system. They're everywhere." Thexler felt his legs give out as he slumped into his command chair. "How many?" 23 confirmed contacts, sir. All approximately the same size as the derelict. All showing active power signatures." Veltar looked up from her station, her face pale with shock. "Sir, they were never derelict. They've been watching us the entire time." The revelation hit the alien crew like a physical blow. They weren't explorers who had stumbled upon a dead ship. They were prey that had wandered into a carefully orchestrated trap. The humans had been studying them, learning their capabilities, testing their responses. "Sir," Communications Officer Nexaval called out, "I'm receiving a transmission on standard diplomatic frequencies." Thexler's voice was barely a whisper. "Put it through." The main viewer flickered to life, revealing the interior of what was clearly a military command center. A human female in a dark uniform sat in the central chair, her eyes calm and calculating. Behind her, other humans worked at stations filled with technology that looked decades beyond anything the Zephyrians possessed. "Greeting, Captain," the human said, her voice carrying an accent that was somehow both melodic and threatening. "I am Commander Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Space Command. You have been scanning my vessel for the past 47 minutes. Thexler found his voice. We thought your ship was derelict. We meant no harm." "Of course you didn't," Vasquez replied, her smile never reaching her eyes. "You were simply conducting reconnaissance on a species you knew nothing about. Perfectly reasonable behavior. We do the same thing." You've been watching us?" "Captain, we've been watching your entire species for the past 6 months. Every patrol route, every communication protocol, every tactical doctrine. We know more about the Zephyrian collective than you do." The alien bridge crew exchanged terrified glances. If the humans were telling the truth, then everything they thought they knew about this new species was wrong. "What do you want?" Thexler asked. Commander Vasquez leaned forward in her chair. "That's an excellent question, Captain. What we want is very simple. We want to make sure that when our species eventually meet in official capacity, there are some misunderstandings." "Misunderstandings?" About our respective capabilities. You see, Captain, your species has a reputation for being somewhat aggressive toward newcomers. 7 civilizations in the past century have found themselves forcibly incorporated into your collective after refusing your generous offers of membership. Thexler's mandibles clicked nervously. The human was clearly well informed about Zephyrian expansion policies. We prefer to avoid such complications, Vasquez continued. So we've decided to demonstrate our defensive capabilities before formal contact occurs. On the stellar wind, Veltar was monitoring the human fleet with growing horror. Sir, I'm reading power signatures from their vessels that are beyond our current understanding of physics. Some of their ships appear to be manipulating spacetime itself. Thexler didn't want to know, but he had to ask. How many ships could a single human vessel destroy? Veltar's voice was hollow. Based on these readings? All of them, sir. A single human ship could destroy our entire battle fleet. Commander Vasquez seemed to sense the alien's growing despair. Captain, I want to assure you that humanity has no aggressive intentions toward your species. We are perfectly willing to coexist peacefully. We simply want to make sure that coexistence remains peaceful. What happens now? Thexler asked. Now, Captain, you return to your collective and report what you've seen. You tell them that humanity is not a species to be conquered or absorbed. You tell them that we're willing to talk, to trade, to share knowledge, but only as equals. Vasquez paused, her expression hardening slightly. And you tell them that any attempt to force us into submission will result in consequences they cannot imagine. The transmission ended, leaving the stellar wind in stunned silence. Around them, the human fleet began to fade back into stealth mode, disappearing from sensors as if they had never existed. Set course for collective space, Thexler ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. Maximum speed. As the stellar wind departed the system, its crew tried to process what they had experienced. They had set out to catalog a primitive species, and instead had encountered the galaxy's ultimate predator. The humans hadn't just demonstrated superior technology, they had shown a level of strategic thinking that was terrifying in its implications. They had been patient enough to wait months for the perfect opportunity, smart enough to turn their apparent weakness into devastating strength, and confident enough to reveal their capabilities while knowing it would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Aboard the Prometheus, Commander Vasquez watched the alien ship disappear into hyperspace. Around her, the human fleet continued its patrol, invisible guardians protecting humanity's expanding frontier. Think they'll listen? Asked Lieutenant Torres. Vasquez smiled. They'll listen. The question is whether the rest of their species will be smart enough to do the same. In the depths of space, 23 human warships continued their silent vigil, waiting for whatever came next. They had delivered their message clearly. Humanity was not prey. They were the predators now, and the galaxy would never be the same.